who discuss topics such as dating, the workplace, family, spirituality, cheating, and of course, sex. Monday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The show is simulcast audio and video on the website indieradio.org, which allows listeners all over the world to gather together to tackle challenging relationship issues. And now, here are your hosts of the Mars Venus Show, Rashim and Kinte.
Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus Show. I am one of your hosts, Kinte, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I am so happy to be here with you on this Monday night, or evening, I should say. I am joined by the lovely and the beautiful and the talented Rashim. How you doing, Rashim?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. And just as a programming note, next week we will not be on because we'll be observing the 4th of July holiday, but we will be back on the following week. But how was your weekend, Rashim?
It's been pretty good, I gotta say. Pretty good.
Do you ever have a down day?
You know, it's so funny. My homegirl recently said, hey, you should come over and because we both had stressful weeks, so you should come over and let's just relax and drink some wine and chill. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. And I could bring some artwork to do in a book. And she was like, or maybe not. Maybe you could just chill. But,
that's you, though. You're going to turn it into a work week, huh? Or a work day, I should say.
I mean, I think it's a matter of when you love what you're up to in the world, then it makes that sort of thing not as much work.
That's right. So do you have any big plans for the upcoming 4th of July weekend?
We're actually going to some friends of Derek's house. They have this big celebration. Personally, I more along the line celebrate Juneteenth, but listen, if they having free food and a pool, I'm gonna go just off GP. So.
Hey, that's what's up. And who is Derek, by the way, for those who may not know?
Oh, Derek is my husband.
Yeah, there you go. It wasn't just some random cat. It's her actual dude. So I'm glad that you are here with us, and I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you tonight. So let's introduce my panel for the day. And first, you know what? I'm going to introduce the panel, and then I'm going to get into what I was going to say just now. But let's start off, of course, with the ladies. And I'm going to start off. This young lady, I am a big fan of. I listened or watched and listened to her radio show. I took notes and pointers and tips from this lady. She's become a wonderful, wonderful friend. And someone that I look to for guidance. It's the one and only Ambrosia. How are you doing?
I am wonderful, Kinte. I had to think about who you were talking about at first. I'm looking around the room. I'm like, oh, me. Hey, hi, how are you?
Whatever. You know how cool you are. You are definitely one of my podcasting idols. So I am so happy that you were here chopping it up.
It's my honor. Thank you.
And kind of give us a little bit of info about yourself.
Well, I have been in the virtual world of Second Life now for 8 years, and my evolution into it is really interesting because it doesn't just start with the virtual present. It starts going all the way back to things like ICQ, Pal Talk, M-Player, Yahoo Chat, and moving from there. But to move into a virtual landscape, it's absolutely just amazing because you're only as limited by your imagination. You can do and be anything. If you can think it, you can do it, you can be it. So I've done a lot of different things in there. I've had a talk show, and now I'm singing as a live singer in SL and really enjoying it.
All right, and that is SL is Second Life, and we're going to get into a little bit more and give more clarity of what we're talking about as far as virtual worlds and virtual platforms. But I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce our panel. So I'm going to go on to our next wonderful guest. And I met this young lady the same way I met Rashim on the website Blab. And I found out that she was in Second Life. So I've always wanted to have her on to talk about her Second Life experiences. It's the one and only Isida. How you doing, Isida?
I'm fine, thank you, Kente.
And give us a little background on yourself.
My name is Isita. I've been playing Second Life since end of 2011. So 5, maybe 6 years, something like that. I created, and I'm currently on creating hiatus because I have this love of books, right? And the way my book love is currently set up, I have this reading list that's kind of sort of big, and I keep adding to it because I keep buying more books. So when I'm done with that, I'm gonna come back to creating, but for now I'm on hiatus.
Man, I feel so bad because I used to read all the time, and now if it isn't an audiobook, I probably don't get to it. So
technically that's still reading. It's just someone's reading to you, but you still are taking the time to.
Hey, I try to get Ambrosia or Rashim to read me a chapter or something every day, but they don't go for it. So they make me do it myself. So but,
you poor thing. You poor thing.
I know, man. It's terrible. But thank you so much, Isida, for being here. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. All right. And this young lady, she's been on the show. I think this is probably your third time, Danny, right? So I want to welcome you back to the show. And Danny, so how are you doing, Danny?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. And give us a little background about yourself.
Well, I also am a resident of the virtual world, Second Life. I've been there for just about 11 years now. I have 2 businesses that I run in Second Life. One is making clothing, and the other one is doing tarot and oracle card reading for people. So doing a couple different things in there. I stay pretty busy. And yeah, so I'm really glad to be on the show today, and looking forward to discussing this topic. I think it's an interesting one. So yeah.
And we're going to get you back, right, to do some readings possibly in the near future?
Yeah, we did that before. I did some live readings on the air. It was pretty fun. So yeah, I'd be up for that again for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Now, of course, this would not be a Mars Venus show without having the other side, which is the male point of view. So let me welcome to the show this guy. This guy is super duper talented singer. He's a improv master, voice actor, all of the above. It's the one and only X93. How you doing, man?
I am doing quite well. Thank you once again for having me on your show. I'm no stranger to this platform of entertainment, and I thank you so much for the large props that you gave me just now. I had to think about it for a minute because not unlike Ambrosia, to think, wait, talking about me? Is this me? What? Yeah, it's me. So.
And give us a little bit of background besides all the things that I've said, a little bit more so we know who you are.
Well, obviously by the name, if you cannot tell, that's obviously not a government name. That is definitely the name of my SL persona, the tiny little robot in blue named X93. A lot of people know me from Machinima Mondays, where I did when I was in SL. I haven't been in a few years, but that's not for laugh trying. But I do voiceover for a lot of friends in the Machinima world there. I have been a live singer before in SL. I've also been, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks into my very first day in SL back in 2005, I became a DJ. So that was like my first real gig in SL. That was being a DJ. And things just went from there. I went from DJ to filmmaker to voiceover actor to role player. You name it, I've pretty much done it all in SL.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to it. One thing I have to say, and this is probably gonna suck, but you're a very good singer. But I don't think men have to be that great of singers in Second Life, because it seems like men get away with sucking more than women. Women have to be really good. It seems like people are a lot harder on women than they are guys, because there's a lot of guys faking and shaking, and they shouldn't be getting any money in there.
No comment.
If a woman sings in SL, she better be good.
None. Nada.
So, but you are one of the good. You are one of the good ones, X. So you're definitely very talented. So I wanted to make that point. All right. So this next guy. Actually, we have so much vocal talent here. Ambrosia sings. X93 sings. This next person is a singer as well, and a filmmaker. I'm so glad to have you back on the show. It's Fabian Rush. How you doing?
It is awesome to be back. Thank you so much for having me again. I miss you, and I'm very happy to be doing this again. And unlike the other guys and girls on here that are singing, I do more of a screaming thing with my band. So I'm one of those that doesn't have that vocal kind of talent you're talking about.
Well, hey, you know what? I've said this before on the show. I feel like I have a platinum album in me in the shower. So if I could do the recording in the shower, I think I have a platinum album.
We'll get back to you. Promise.
I sing and scream for the kind of people who have a bit more aggression in their hearts, I guess.
You know what's so funny is about Fabian? I had Fabian on my other show called The Spotlight, and it was about his machinima work. And then Fabian, if you see his pictures, this brother looks like an accountant, right? So I'm like, that was the first pictures I saw. So I'm doing my research, my due diligence, and I'm looking around, and I start seeing these other pictures of him. And I'm like, first I was like, that's not him. And I kept looking, and it's this other whole other guy with horns, and and he's up on stage. I'm like, who is this guy? I had no idea that you were this whole other person.
That's a fun way to live. I have the day job, which is where all the professional looking stuff comes from, and then the nightlife is the demon rock and roll guy. So it's fun.
Yeah, it definitely took me by surprise.
As long as my employers don't find out too much about my other life, I'm good.
We won't tell them at all. But but you know what? Before the show's over, we got to have you tell the story. We're gonna wait though. You got to tell the story of you and the white supremacists in your. That's a great story.
I'm so happy you remember that.
Oh, believe me. Once he tells this story, I'm gonna wait till like later in the show. But once he tells the story, you'll know why I never will forget this. No brother would ever forget this story. You would want to live vicariously through Fabian. So, we'll save it. That's a little teaser though, but it's a great story.
Thank you. I like telling it.
All right, so let's get to the topic of the show. It's virtually dating, hooking up in a virtual world. And I was so glad last week, Rashim, when I mentioned that's what the topic was. Rashim, you thought it was going to be about online dating, specifically, like on a website like JDate or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But,
I did think that.
But no. This is actually slightly different. There's a lot of different virtual worlds, but I would say the most popular one is the virtual platform known as Second Life. And I'm about to put Ambrosia on the spotlight here. I want you to give people who are not aware of that platform a little background into what Second Life is, and give them a kind of a snapshot of what they can expect if they log in and go to that visitor island.
Did he just not like throw me up under the bus out of nowhere? Okay, I can do this.
100%.
Right under it. Right under it.
The wheel is on my foot right now. Let me just say that Second Life is a virtual platform. It is a game. However, it is based on the concept that you can do and create anything in there. It's just as it says, it's Second Life. You have an avatar. Your avatar creates its own content. You have clothing, you have homes, you have families, there are clubs, there are houses, mansions, there's currency. There's something called lindens. And we purchase Lindens to purchase things within the game to make the game run for us. And it's just an amazing concept. You meet people. It is a virtual chat room, if you, or so to speak. So thinking of being in a chat room, but then you get a chance to have little avatars that talk and make, make families, and you meet people and you date, and it's just amazing.
It's like The Sims meets Grand Theft Auto meets AOL chat room meets what black people meet.
Yes.
Right. It's just like they all got together and had a big orgy and had a bunch of babies or made a baby, and that's what Second Life is.
And it's still going on to this day. That same orgy.
The same orgy, right, is going on, right. And I want to give a little background how I came to be on Second Life. So I started doing my podcast, and what happened was my show, The Spotlight. And what happened was every once in a while I would come across a guest who was big in Second Life, and I had never. I think I'd heard about it. I think like 60 Minutes or something did I can't remember what news organization. They did a big thing on it, and I thought it was interesting, and I started out, and I couldn't get past the Visitors Island, so I was just like, I couldn't figure out what was going on here, and yeah, I was like, so I was like,
no noob shaming. I'm sorry.
So I was like, you know what? Let me leave this alone because this is kind of weird, right? So so I'm doing my podcast, and I keep having these guests on my show who were big in Second Life. And so I think I had about 2 or 3. I think I had like this person back in the day named Phelan Fairchild, and then Pookie Amsterdam, I think, was the one who said, no, you got to come in and check it out, right? So she brings me into this platform, gets me off that island, and that's when I was able to, see a lot more. And then she passes me off to Pet Love. And so then she was the one that showed me around and all that good stuff, right? And one thing that I found is whatever goes on in the quote unquote, they call it RL, the real life, it goes on in Second Life on steroids,
right?
So like
right,
and I'm gonna tell you one of the funniest things that I came across, and then I'll get into my guess. Is so when I was in Second Life in the beginning, the people that brought me in were Caucasian, right? So I only saw like the Caucasian part of it.
Pookie is Caucasian.
Yes, she is white as she is white as they come. Her and Pet Love, and so I didn't even know black people were really in there like that. And so then I seen this sister avatar. And I was like, hey, are there any black people up in here? And she was like, hell yeah. So she takes me to where the black folks at. Right?
So his
virtual hood.
Oh yeah, it was definitely different. And so now I'm in the black area, right? So I'm at it's a club, right? So I'm in there, and it was supposed to be like a gang. It was a gang theme. So they actually had like Crips and Bloods and stuff at this club, and it was ridiculous. And I guess my avatar bumped into another avatar, and this guy started set tripping on me. He started saying, hey, blood, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. So that was my entree into Second Life, and I thought it was pretty crazy. So I'm gonna start off with Isida. How did you first come to find out about Second Life?
Well, I was on IMVU, which is another virtual platform, because I was in college at the time, and you can't always go to parties. I mean, you can, but the way my pockets were set up, I could not always go to parties. So I had to find like another outlet that didn't consist of being in Texas heat. So I found IMVU and I was there and I had a virtual family there. And my virtual mom there was like, oh, you guys should really come to Second Life. And I'm like, but virtual game here. They're like, no, Second Life is more realistic. And me, being me, I said virtual game here. And so she was like, oh, just try it. I tried it. Basically, I spent my first 6 months on SL, I kid you not, walking up and down stairs because on IMVU, you cannot walk. I literally would TP places and find stairs. If you had no stairs, I was TPing out.
Hysterical.
So, that's how I started.
It was stairs, really?
I know,
like
of anything.
Superpower.
Being on IMVU, you literally could only hop from one dot to the next. There was no
Right.
walking.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still haven't mastered walking straight, but I
Could
can
not
walk
do
up
IMVU.
some stairs, y'all.
I gave it 3. Yeah, I gave it 3 hours and I deleted it. So it's like
now every so often you guys will, I'm sure you guys will throw out a term, and I want the audience to be able to listen along. So when you said TP, what is TP?
Oh, TPing is to teleport on SL on Second Life. You teleport from one place to another if it's like on a different sim. It's kind of like when you play The Sims 4 or The Sims 2 and you're going from one location to another and there's that wait screen. Second Life is the same thing, and you teleport from one place to another.
Now, I've had a situation where, like, you can send someone a teleport to have them come to where
Now
you're
you
at.
can, yes.
And I had one time. Sometimes it doesn't always send you to where they're supposed to send you, and it could be very strange where you may end up. So blind teleporting, you do that at your own risk because you never know what you may be teleporting into. So
Right.
just as someone who may be getting into it, you may see puppy dogs and dolphins in the beginning, but who knows what you might see if you stick around. So, yeah, so TP is teleporting. And let's go to you, Danny. What about you? How did you first come to find out about Second Life?
Like everyone else, I've been using the internet since like the mid 90s, so chat rooms, things like that. So the whole concept of it was really appealing to me when I first learned about it. But how I actually entered into Second Life was actually through I think it's called the ARG. It's kind of like a real life game that you sort of play, and it was called Lonely Girl 15. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It's happened like about 12 years ago. So anyway, it was done over YouTube, and they transitioned it into Second Life, and that's how I ended up in there. And same thing, like the first 3 months I was there, I just kind of came and went, and I was like, this is stupid. Like, I don't know how to play. Everything looks terrible. But then I met somebody who showed me how to play it properly and showed me how to set up all my graphics. And then all of a sudden I was hooked, and I haven't left since. I come and go a bit, but for the most part, I've been there for about 11 years and have businesses running and tons of friends and family. And yeah, so, everybody's experience is different, but that's how I came to be in SL.
All right. And then Ambrosia.
So what would you?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Rashid.
What would you say is like the general appeal that keeps you going back? And also, do you have more sometimes where you feel like your Second Life is more interesting than your RL?
I think for me, I have times when it's almost kind of like an escape in a way. Like if stuff's going a little stressful in real life, you'll get more into Second Life. At least that's for me. So, and I also, there's a creative aspect to Second Life for me too. It's sort of an art form for me because I create like virtual clothing. So, yeah, I just find it's a really good creative outlet for me for the most part. That's sort of the main draw. So, yeah, I come and go, but it's definitely got its appeals for sure. So,
yeah, I think you would appreciate, Rasheen. There's a lot of wonderful art that's being created within Second Life. There's real artists that are in there creating beautiful stuff, and it's actually a pretty good space for that. So within the walls of Second Life. All right, so I want to give Ambrosia. How did you first come to get involved with Second Life?
Well, when I was talking about originally being in chat rooms, I used to be on a chat forum called Pal Talk, and we used to do karaoke over there. We'd sing and do whatever, and then a lot of people started leaving, and we're like, where are they going? So I always say that the chat experience is nomadic in nature, and those of us who've been around long enough, it's almost as if we migrate to new and different chat forums and lands, and then bring others to them, and that's exactly what we did. So they brought me over there, and they kept saying, you need to come over here. We sing over here, and we do this and that and the other. And again, I was skeptical, as a lot of people were. Now, my first forays into Second Life have not always been successful because of the graphic intensity on computers. And back then, I wasn't using nearly what I have now. Now I have a gaming computer. Back then, it might as well have been a Commodore 64. So
She went there.
I went there.
Man.
I went there. Yes. So my thing though is that I actually went on there for a while with a girlfriend of mine who actually was on there and doing stuff. And then I shied away for a couple of years. And then when I finally came back, I'll never forget, Valentine's Day 2009 is my what they call Res Day, and that's what we celebrate. We celebrate birthdays if you choose to, but the Res Day is the day that you actually create your account, and we have Res Day parties. So hence Valentine's Day is my Res Day, and I have been hooked ever since.
See, you messed up. You shouldn't have created your account on Valentine's Day, because then you lose out a present day. So, because all they do is combine for Valentine's Day and your birthday or your birthday.
You really think she gonna let somebody get away with that, homie?
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I don't even know who he don't know me, do he?
Told you, no woman in SL is gonna let you get away with anything remotely close to that if you call yourself caring about somebody. Exactly. You're gonna make sure you send her a gift that says specifically, this one's for your birthday. And then you're going to send her a gift that says, this one's for Valentine's Day. And you can send this stuff through the SL Marketplace and definitely title each one so she will know. So no, now, you're not getting away with that.
We have to let them know what Marketplace is. Marketplace is like a thing of beauty. Content, people that create content on every form. We're talking about furniture and clothing and textures and scripting and everything that you would have in a real life in a real life Walmart, you have on Marketplace. And that's the only best way I can say it.
It's things that you can't afford in real life.
Well, this is true. I mean, mansions. I mean, how many people can buy a mansion for like $4, but it's like $1,800 or what have you? The conversion $1,600 in right.
None of that.
600 Lindens rather. So my thing though is that think of the second place marketplace is the virtual form of Amazon.com. Okay. So we buy, ladies, come on, you got to chime in, Danny.
I try to sell.
Right. I'm with you, Danny. The way I used to buy, but I was one of those freebie shoppers, because Second Life is a place where, much like real life, you can go to the flea market or you can go to Goodwill. They have places where you can pay no money and get a bunch of free stuff that looks like it was free stuff. So I used to do that, and then I started creating, and then when I got better and started making money, no. I'm
gonna tell you how, Rasheem, I'm gonna tell you how Second Life is. There was this place where it was a church, right? And on Sundays, they would have a minister, virtual minister. He'd be on stage. There'd be a room full of real people in the pews, and he's giving a real sermon. He's giving a real sermon, and there's like a choir too of people who are assuming the choir and usher and all of that. I mean, it was packed on Sundays, right? And the guy's giving a real, like a real sermon. And then at a certain point, they passed the collection plate. I fell on the ground. I was like, this is ridiculous.
else are you gonna
Virtual
pay
church
Wait a minute. Like, here's the thing about it. I've been a member of the same virtual church on Second Life for 8 years. And who has he's a real life minister in real life. And I respect him. And the thing about it though, is that people don't understand there are a lot of people that do their Second Life is an extension of their first life, or you have other people who create personas and fantasy characters. You can be a werewolf. There are covens, and I forget what they call them for for vampires. What are they called?
Crazy.
Clans.
Crazy.
Clans. And all kinds of, you can be a fairy. You can be there's a gargoyle that comes to my shows and he dances. It's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life, to see a gargoyle doing the moonwalk. I mean, it is what it is.
but check this out. Check this out, Rasheem. So every time I would go in, like I would tell somebody about this church, I would be like, "You got to see this church," and I would take them to the church, right? And then one day I go to the church because it's been a while. I said, "Oh, you got to see this. This is the craziest thing." And it's Sunday. You got to see this. It's like a full church, right? And so I take them there. It was no longer a church. It was a brothel now.
That's totally different.
It came under new management.
I hope it was new. I hope it was new management. Who hey, you never know, right?
I don't know. You got some of these TL pastors out here now, though.
All right, so I want to. So the topic of the show is, now we set the landscape of what Second Life is. I want to get into people actually using this as a platform to meet people and date and all that good stuff. And I want to start off. I want to start off with the guys. I'm gonna start off with the guys because one thing about Second Life that I don't know that a lot if people outside of it may not understand is it's very good if you're a male, because women outnumber men. It's one of the few things that in that kind of realm, a nerd realm, whatever you want to call it, where the women really outnumber the men. There's a big difference in the male to female ratio. And
I think it's 1 in 8, isn't it?
Really?
900 to 1.
I feel like it's probably worse.
I've noticed this, and I don't have any complaints.
Especially if you get in voice in SL, it's a wrap.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great.
So if you can't find you a woman in Atlanta, or if you can't find yourself a woman in Second Life, you need to just quit. So you need to just
we as women concur.
So I want to start off with the fellas, and I'm gonna start off with you, X. Give us an idea what it's like to be a male in Second Life with women all over the place, and real life women who may be looking for that special someone.
It is absolute bliss. It is absolute bliss when it comes to just that aspect of it. Now, if you're talking about actually being in relationships, it's pretty much the same as real life. It's hit or miss. You're gonna get your cool, and you're gonna get your crazy. I am a magnet for the latter. I've had some crazy ass girlfriends in Second Life. That's my own fault. But nonetheless, at least when we wake up, guess what? It don't take long to plop up like, hey, guess who's single? Next thing you know, inbox is like, ding, ding, ding.
This all sounds very accurate.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how you doing? You can literally be Joey in SL. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?
Well, does it ever happen that somebody is showing up?
Well, go ahead, Rasheem. What were you saying?
Say it again.
Does it ever happen that someone is showing up as a different race or gender than they are in real life? And if so, does that throw you off? Or are you like, hey,
Always.
I'm not even gonna lie. I have 18 avatars unto myself. 3 of which are female.
Now, when you're your avatar, do you like date differently than you would in real life? And also for other people, would you date someone who, like, if you knew in real life they were, actually the same sex? I don't know what anybody's sexuality was, or if they were just a sexuality that or gender that you weren't particularly interested in. Would it be like, you know what, this is not RL, so I'm just kind of rolling with it in this platform?
All depends on the person. It depends,
it all depends
on the person. I will tell you. Yeah, because in my case, I have done everything. I will go as far as to say, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is true. I have been pregnant in second.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I can't even.
I have not. I haven't done that with myself.
I'm gonna throw that out there, and I'm gonna tell you why I did. I did this because I'm like, what better place to do social experiments than a social media platform like Second Life?
Absolutely.
So what I did was I actually started dating a girl as a guy, and then I was like, you know what would really be fun to do, hun? Let's switch roles. I'm going to let you actually wear the pants, and I will wear the skirt, just to see what happens. So my boyfriend was a girl, I was her woman.
And she knocked you up.
That's actually really awesome because you can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that a lot of times, if you're asking about the whole, is it possible to be deceived? Yes. This is why there's no greater place to watch catfish than while on Facebook filled with Second Life friends.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
we all know when you are being we will watch and tell you, red flag, red flag, red flag,
Right.
get out. Why are you still here? How did you believe that? That's not a legit excuse. We know. All right. We know. So it does happen anywhere where somebody is allowed to become a different person, which is well within their right. That's something that can happen. It is a problem, though, when you knowingly deceive somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Ladies, shall we give the 3-letter term alt? Come on now. The alt situation in SL is that it's Second Life rather is at a fever pitch, and what that means is that people have more than. Let me explain. An alt is an alternate account, which means that you have your main account, and then you make another account, and you make another account. I have friends who have like 3 and 4 different families. I don't have that much brain power. I'm sorry.
You gotta understand. It's like in real life when you're coming up with lies to make up. That's a lot of stories to go on in your head about why you were missing in action for this family dinner. Because we have family role plays in the game as well.
Right.
So it's difficult to come up with. Well, how come we invited you and you said you weren't going to be there? But we saw you log in, then that's a different story. Then you got to come up with a story for this family here. It's literally like that one episode of American Dad. Sorry, had to do it. Where Roger had like a bunch of families at this amusement park. That's literally Second Life. That's it.
You guys are bringing up a really good point.
Let me say something about the whole alt thing, though. There are people that make alternate accounts for a variety of reasons. They may make them to get away from their main account and some of the stressors from that. They make them for business reasons. They make them for banking reasons. I get that. But when you make an alt to deceive your first quote-unquote virtual family, that's what we as women have a problem with. But guess what? Women, too, have caught on to the alt game. And 2017, folk ain't playing. I don't do the whole alt thing. Like I said before, I don't have enough brain power to come up with 25 different alts and try to remember who shot John, whose daughter is this one. There's all kinds of stuff where women are finding out that their dad was actually their sister. I mean, it's weird.
I heard about women. I've had women who found out that their exes were actually their fathers, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, be offense! Oh gosh!"
Right? It's crazy.
No.
It is absolutely nuts.
No,
and people probably listening are like, "What are they talking about?"
Okay, I think you guys are bringing up an awesome point there because Second Life. There are those like myself that are on it as an extension of their real life.
Right.
And then there are those that are on it to escape their real life or just escape in general and be somebody else.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like everything you guys are saying, I have an alt myself, and I've been in female bodies, and it's interesting because when I'm in a different form for one of my movies, and I don't know if I introduced it as a movie during the show, but I'm mostly on Second Life to make movies. So when I need a character that is a female, I go in and to do that and so on. But for the most part, my main avatar looks like me. And so he pretty much just is me, just a version of me that walks around in world.
Right.
So I guess I act the same way in game as I do outside. And so when it comes to dating, and I guess on the topic of tonight, I kind of backed into experiences. And what you were saying earlier, I think it was Ambrosia saying this, about how you don't have the brain power for all the drama. It's funny how quickly Second Life can be just a repeat of your main life when you're dating. Because you run into all the same problems from a real person, and they do and say all the things they would do in real life.
It is a virtual microcosm.
Yes, absolutely. And that's all it is. It's fun. And what I like about it is that I can fly and I can teleport.
Right.
Outside of that, and I can afford to buy more stuff. But
Yes.
that's about it. Yeah.
You know what's funny though?
Anyone ever?
You know what's funny?
Has anyone ever fell in love with someone?
Okay.
I have.
Oh yeah.
I have.
My two daughters wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Second Life.
His real
Oh,
life,
wow.
his real daughters.
Wow.
His real life daughters, yeah.
Oh wow. How old are they?
Let's see. My oldest is 7, and my youngest is 3.
Aw.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know,
Now, mind you, me and the mom aren't
All the
together
questions.
anymore. But the point is, we did get together for a while, and we're still friends. We know we just can't be together, but we're still friends and still talk. So,
And it's ironic that you mentioned that because I actually got a chance to go to a sim that I normally go to. Now, ladies, you all know, and I don't know if the other guys know, but there's a sim called Soul Vibrations that is basically, they call the meat market. But wait a minute. But here's the thing about it. I always like it because everybody just hangs out there. I call it the hangout. I actually saw one of my Second Life exes there, and we danced today for the first time in a long, long time. And we're just friends. And it was so funny because my Second Life dad was there, and he was like, "I see you dancing with Otis over there. I see you dancing."
Otis.
I know.
But you know what's funny though is, so I was doing some filming in Second Life, and I needed 2 avatars, so I made up an alt, right? And I learned very quickly, this was very early on, that you have to be careful even what you name your avatar. And so like I used to play Halo all the time, right? Online. And my online name for Halo was Master Over You, right?
Oh.
So I named the second avatar Master Over You. It was a reference to the Halo thing. Well, I didn't realize
Sounds
this.
like BDSM to me.
Right. I didn't realize. So I had all the
Rodney, though,
I thought that's why you named it that.
every submissive within 30 meters was coming at him.
You know what? It was the weirdest thing
very
because
sexual name.
I you know how you can take
that's the thing.
you can take off all the on-screen like chats and stuff so you can film, right? So I had the avatar just sitting down and filming everything, right? And I had so I couldn't see what people were writing me and stuff. So when I went back to that screen and I put everything back, I had all these messages from all these women about I'll be your slave and all of this stuff. I was like, and I couldn't figure out why are they coming at me like that? And it was a friend of mine told me, she was like, well, it's your name. She's like, it's your name. She said, I didn't even know you were into all of that. I'm like, into what? And she was like,
you have lived a very, very innocent life.
She was like, she's like, I thought when I saw your avatar's name, I thought you were into all that, BDSM stuff. And I was like, no, that's Halo, Master Chief,
And then I imagine nobody hit on you after that.
I think I changed the name.
His name was Master.
over you, yeah, they're going to still come at him.
Well, Kente, I wanna just touch upon the whole alt thing one last time when it talks about, and no offense to the guys, but when certain men decide that they want to quote unquote cheat on their main account, here's what happens though. They get caught. Why? Because they wind up doing the same thing. They'll wind up going to the same places, using the same mannerisms, and putting the same type of things in their profile. And we know exactly who it is because number one, there's no payment information. We already know that, first of all, if you are already decked out, you're only 3 days old and you've got a mesh body, dude, you're an alt.
You giving away all the tails now.
Wow.
And what's up?
In agreement with what Ambrosia is saying, I've seen there's different types of people, alternative accounts. There are the men who make alternative accounts to date other women. And it's funny because I've seen, there was one in particular a long time ago. He was dating somebody I knew. They were married and he had an alt account. And I always found it funny because his alt account was my Facebook, because we have Second Life Facebook accounts devoted just to our Second Lives. His alt account was on my friends list as well as his main account. And I thought it was funny because I'm looking like, why do they look the same? And this is before, because now on Second Life we have mesh heads. This is before mesh heads. So you know that they had to work to look the same because that's what they're comfortable with.
Right.
And I was like, And he was dating somebody on there that wasn't his wife. I said, oh, geez. This is going to be entertaining when this blows up.
Well, I guess I must be some kind of SL savant because I've got 18 avatars and none of them are exactly the same.
Because you don't make your avatars to deceive people. You make your avatars for role play purposes and to do what you want to do. These people, they make them to also, And so there's also the people who make alternate accounts when, for example, when you talked about different genders and races, there are men who make women accounts and fool women into believing, or fool men into believing they're really women. And there are women who make men accounts and fool women into believing they're really men. That's another one that happens.
Right.
And it's usually never, well, sometimes I've seen it to where I had a sister who was a lesbian in real life, and she had a male account. It was never a secret, but she also never made it publicly known that she was a girl. But if you asked her, it was one of those don't ask, don't tell situations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what was funny was, and I don't know why, but this always cracked me up. I guess because she made her avatar look attractive. This is, I kid you not, every girl she ever dated, this is how the conversation will go. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm a girl in real life. The girl, oh my God, I can't believe you would do that to me. Her, I'm really sorry. You know, we don't have to keep seeing each other. Well, you know. So I guess we can make it work. I've never done this before though, but we can make it work.
You know, the thing about relationships in there, if you really, really are getting close to somebody, I guess what we haven't really talked about much on this is the ability to just do voice. Every time I'm on Second Life talking with somebody, I was always using voice because I was always multitasking. So if I'm working on something for my movie or building something, then I don't have time to constantly type. So one of the great features, if you don't want to be deceived, and this isn't, I'm not saying this at you guys, I'm just saying this to anybody listening and kind of wondering, you don't have to be deceived by a man being a woman or vice versa, because it's not uncommon just to have a voice call with somebody. It can be a public thing or it can be private. And back when I was in a Second Life relationship, I used voice with her every night. And we were just so used to hearing each other. It was just a regular thing. So I think that was actually a huge part of what took us further in our relationship that ultimately ended up to a real life thing. Just hearing her voice made her so much more real.
Well,
I
you know,
agree.
there's a whole other point of this about how people date in SL, you know, in Second Life, but they're married in real life. And there's a lot of dynamics where you have couples that are on married couples that are on Second Life, but they maintain separate lives, separate second lives. I've
I'm
seen
in that
that.
category. Yeah.
Okay. But here's the other thing. The other dynamic is that you've got a single a person in SL who is dating someone in SL who has a real life married partner. And that whole dynamic as it relates to people wondering is that emotional infidelity? Are you cheating on your real life spouse by having a second life girlfriend and or boyfriend and or husband or wife? So there's a lot of dynamics there. It's deep. It can get really, really deep.
Yeah, you're right. It's a very philosophical thing because that is the situation I had when I first joined Second Life, and my approach to it to kind of justify those kind of questions in my own mind is that well, this is my second life, and my real life at that time before my divorce was not very nice. So it felt it was an important escape at the same time. And of course, that's not why I joined Second Life, but it is something that it just kind of happened. And when you're in a certain kind of just sad situation and everyone's dragging their feet on divorce, then I don't know, it becomes a thing that you could justify a little easier. Just to be devil's advocate on that.
And I want to take a moment real quick to give a shout out to someone who's listening in, who was actually the co-host of this show right before Rasheen came on. And remember, I told you Pookie Amsterdam brought me into Second Life. Then she passed me off to Pet Love, and then Pet Love punted me over to this lady, Tara Lynn Gravoy. And I just wanted to give her a shout out, who's listening in on the chat room. She was definitely like her and Pet Love were like my Yoda into Second Life. They taught me, they showed me everything before I didn't even know how to do anything at all. And I used to bug the hell out of her. Like, how do you do this? How do you look at your inventory? How do you, and all of that. So I want to give her a shout out. She is in the chat on YouTube. All right. So, and one thing I want to talk about, we talked about gift giving and we talked about, going to a club and all of that kind of stuff. One aspect, there's a couple of aspects of Second Life that I find very interesting. There's the partnering, which,
Dun dun dun.
yeah, there's partnering. Now, partnering in your estimation, like partnering, there's partnering and then there's getting married in Second Life. And I think some people see them as the same. I think most people see them as a separate thing, right? Most people see them separate, right? Partnering and getting married in Second Life.
It depends on the couple.
It does. It does depend on the couple.
All right.
It depends on the couple.
Yeah, some people do it just to not be messed with by others.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, partnering is defined by the couple by saying that, some people think that partnering can just be, okay, I'm a fix, I'm involved with this person and that's my girlfriend. So that you can be a partner in that sense. But then some people say, well, no, I'm not going to be your partner until you put a ring on it. They're doing the whole Beyonce dance. Okay. Right. So I'm just saying. So it just depends on the couple.
And what's the trip is, this is what I love about Second Life. When I used to do my shows in there and I was in there, that so you would see somebody who they just got married. When I talk about Rasheen, when I'm talking about they got married, I'm not talking about I'm talking about a full Coming to America type, Princess Diane wedding with a church full of people. I'm talking about real people as avatars.
Yeah.
A ceremony, doves.
Kente,
I've done that as well.
Kente, I sang at my first SL wedding on Saturday. It was absolutely the most beautiful wedding I had ever been at. But I was there for 7 hours.
But this is
7 hours.
This is a wedding in a virtual platform regime. It is the craziest thing you've ever seen. And this and Flower Girls, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is this has happened more than 1,000,000 times. So it's like you see these two people get married, and you're like, oh well, hey, they're happy, right? And then then you see them next week. You see them next week, and it's like, oh, so how's the married life? And they're like, oh, I'm not with that guy anymore.
Oh, well, that's not everybody, but that's certainly something. But it's the same way in real life. I think what we're talking about is just it's possibly a future trend, something that we'll see more often.
I was actually asked by I think some of you guys will know Grayson Sonata. She does shows on indie radio and movie time and all that. And she actually got married to a guy she met in Second Life. She married him in real life and in Second Life, and they got married on Halloween. And initially, she asked me to be the officiant of the wedding, and I'm sitting there like, no, I'm not doing that.
Because you need certifications for that, right?
I'm like, that's weird. I'm not doing that. Like, no. She's like, you can do it. Huh? What'd you say?
Why wouldn't you do it?
I ain't gonna lie. That shit is strange to me. So I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm glad.
Have you ever dated?
Yes.
Have you ever dated online in general?
Of course, but no, I'm saying the idea of marrying.
It's kind of like.
I'm saying the idea of me marrying, being the what do you call it, the officiant of the red wedding, which is funny in itself, if you know me. That that might curse your wedding, your marriage.
So is it the kind of thing you wouldn't do in real life either?
No. But then again, preachers are paid, so maybe I'm in the wrong business.
Wait a minute, guys. Why do I have this vision of him showing up looking like Richard Pryor?
Right.
Which way is up?
No, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I think Olaf. If I remember correctly, and Olaf, if you're listening, I think Olaf did it. He did the ceremony. He was the pastor or whatever you want to call it, the
minister, officiant. Yeah.
So
my Second Life parents got married in my life a couple of years ago too.
Oh, we have in the chat room, we have Exquisite Expressions. She says our SL sister met and married her real life husband in Second Life. They are married for 5 years now and have a family, and they are living a beautiful life. See, that's wonderful. I think that's great.
And I know several Second Life couples that have met on the game that are married now, and they're very, very happy. And it's wonderful it's refreshing to see them on the grid and doing things, being vibrant and what have you. I mean, you there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I mean,
those couples that do they stay on?
Yeah, the ugly usually winds up on Facebook, and you just sitting there, like the Michael Jackson memes. Like, I'm just here for the comments. So
the great thing about Second Life, you can always create your own experience, though, right? Like,
absolutely,
whatever you choose to get into, that's your own choice. So
it's all based on your motivation.
Yeah, your motivation, and I think also your perception too. So if you're always going into it going, well, all guys are on alts and they're lying, and all women are opening their legs to everybody, and if you have that kind of attitude, that's probably going to be your experience too, right? So if you kind of shift your perception and you're looking for what it is you actually want rather than expecting the worst all the time, you're going to have a different experience. And
I can say I can speak to that because I know me. I am a hopeless romantic, trying to become a romantic realist. But the one thing you can say is the same kind of dynamic that you have in your real life. Don't let a new person suffer for the sins of that other person.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
We have in the chat room, Tara Lynn says, I think SL could be used for a dating service because you could set up all sorts of dates to see how people handle each other. That's very good.
I actually saw there's somebody who has put together sort of like a game show for dating. I don't know who's organizing it.
I know that. That's the Mocha.
I hope they really get that off the ground because I think it's a good idea.
Even
the Mocha Corporation has the dating game, but also Donnie Soul Food has speed dating.
Right. Yeah.
And Ebony's a good friend of mine. She's been on the show a couple of times. And we actually done a show about the dating game and such. And Finn, who's supposed to be on the show, I believe he was the original host.
Yeah, him and
it.
Nova. Nova has also been a host on there as well.
Yeah. Now look, we can't talk about Second Life dating and hooking up without bringing up Second Life sex. And yes, of course, there is sex in Second Life. Like much like there's sex in the champagne room, there's sex in Second Life. And I'm gonna set the picture, and I want Rasheem, who's totally new to all of this, to understand this. I remember when I first was told about their sex in Second Life, and no, let me start from the beginning.
Oh, you had to be told?
No.
It's everywhere. How did you not know?
No. Let me start from the beginning. Let me start from the beginning.
You know him special.
Well, I never thought about it like that. Like I never thought about it like that.
Master of you.
But no, let me tell you though, my good friend Tara Lynn, who is who showed me around a lot in Second Life and all of that stuff, right? So one thing about your avatar is when your avatar is naked, he doesn't have any genitalia. He doesn't have a penis, right?
Oh, you have to buy that.
And I'm gonna get to it, right? I'm gonna get to it, right? So
that's a choice.
So
all men look like Ken dolls,
right?
Until
so what happened was when I first
certain island.
when I
shall not be named. No, unfreaked.
Hilarious.
Be named.
All right, so when I first would change my avatar's clothes, I didn't know how to do it properly. So what I would do is I would take all of his clothes off. I would strip him naked and then put all of his clothes on, and I would do that in front of people, and people would like look at me like I was weird, and I was like, because I'm sitting there like, what are you tripping about? It's a freaking cartoon character, like, and they were like, no, you're not supposed to take your clothes off like in public. I'm like, I really didn't know. I was like, why does it matter?
That's a good toddler mentality.
So like, and Tara Lynn will tell you, I would take my clothes off, and she's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, what's the big deal? So
because there is social decorum.
Right.
The things that you do in real life, you're not gonna go into Starbucks and just start stripping down.
Why not? Why not? All right. So when I would take all my clothes off, right, he looked weird, right? The avatar looked weird because he didn't have no dick, right? So I told Tara Lynn, I said, me and Tara Lynn was at the sim. And the sim was like this guy who was a woman, but he was like a magician. Tara Lynn, if you're out there, what's that guy's name? It's like Barbie or something like that. But everybody knew it was a guy, right? And so he left, and I was like, hey, Tara Lynn, is there a way that you can have to make him anatomically correct? Because he looks weird, And she said, so all of a sudden, this person, Barbie or Bambi or whatever the person's name was, pops back in, because I didn't realize that they can hear you everywhere through the place. And he goes, I can make you a penis. So the guy literally, Bambi,
you have a drive-by penis maker.
The guy literally,
or you could get those in your email. But yeah.
So the guy literally sat there and started molding a dick for my avatar.
I actually watched him handcraft your junk. Now that is a rarity right there.
So he literally, the guy. It's the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing, and it was very early in Second Life. He molds me a dick onto my avatar, and then he made it where it was like limp or erect. And then he was like, do you want it to ejaculate? I'm like, no. No, dude.
Well, see, now you have to pay extra for that.
What's the point of having it if it's not going to do that?
But no, right? Like, it was just so that. But
I'm
you have Second Life erectile dysfunction. You need.
I think it's funny how much stuff you came in and just kind of needed people to show you. I think that's adorable.
But
it's funny because there's so many things that you'll just see when you're there that you just kind of realize, oh, I could do this, I could do that. And then you go in the marketplace and you take off the safety settings, and then suddenly you see just how many things you can get.
Well, I thought it was the funniest thing recently that I saw. There are actually, you know how when you're on house arrest and you have the ankle restraint?
Mm-hmm.
We have that in Second Life. There is my SL sister showed us a gesture. She has a switchblade that opens up, and she's got a gesture that says, "Ah, shit, now I gotta cut you," and she goes across her throat with it. That's an SL. Anything that you can think of, you can create, and it's just, man, I'm not gonna be the same Kente after that story. I'm just letting you know right now.
Wait a minute. It gets even better though. Check this out. It gets even better, right? So there's there's a place that I can 100% guarantee you that everybody knows about. It's called Excite, right?
Right.
Yes. That's the island of Champ.
I've been there.
Named.
And
right.
Excite is Rasheen, think about it like this. Have you ever been to like Subway? The sandwich shop? Yeah, the sandwich place.
100% accurate.
Think of getting a dick, getting a dick, but Subway style. Like literally, you go like, you know how like Subway is like, what kind of bread you want?
Good analogy.
It's like, what kind of bread you want? In this,
do you want it with piercings?
Right.
Right. Right.
No,
I think that's exaggeration. Right. That is so true.
Right. It is absolutely the best analogy ever. Oh my god!
It is literally like getting you a 6-inch. It's like getting you a 6-inch or a 12-inch at Subway.
You want that with mayonnaise?
Yeah.
Well, we know Kente
now do they go into that type of detail
without mayonnaise? So
what'd you say, Rashid?
We are not exaggerating.
What'd you say, Rashid?
No, I said,
do they go into that type of detail?
Go ahead, Rashid.
Do they go into that type of detail with a women's vagina
yes.
in terms of what she gets to do?
I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Allow me.
Go ahead.
You know how Barbie comes already prepared because women don't have penises? Okay. So the Second Life avatar body, we're set, right? We are set. However, you have several options. A lot of options, actually, right? So, you have landing strips, feathers, interesting designs with pubic hair.
Yeah,
great little tattoos.
You have not had the height of frustration until you try to figure out how to place pubic hair in the right position without it hovering outside of your clothes while you're at the dance floor.
These things. You
got that on your dress.
You can't say, "Oh, I think I spilled something." You're in a virtual game. What did you spill?
I'm gonna tell you.
Take it off, and then you can't take it off fast enough because for some odd reason, when you're in embarrassing situations in Second Life, your computer will freeze.
Just right.
Always.
I'm gonna tell you.
But there's a lot of, and then the nipples. Oh goodness.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Well, see, that's the reason why. Come on, ladies. That's the reason why SL is a man's paradise. All of the different shapes of women's bodies that they have in there, like I forget the name of the designer that makes the huge bazungas. I mean, we're talking about even. Yeah. No, not Lola's. No, not Lola's.
Oh, this is Sking.
It's like Brazilla or Brazil or something like that.
It's made by Sking. They have a bunch of different Brazilian.
Yeah, I mean, they're about the size of little zeppelins hanging off the body.
Zeppelins.
Some people like that, though, you know, to each their own, right?
I don't think there's anything wrong with dressing how you want to dress. That's a perk of SL, being how you want to look, how you want to. But when it comes to these body parts, the struggle is really real. With getting people, they have to buy their nipples.
Even just like learning how
to God
is difficult because like there's so many menus and options, and it's like there's a learning curve when you get into the whole genitalia thing.
It's best to practice that stuff when you're by yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. My brother used to come to me and ask me how to color her penis.
Let's say that you want to have an intimate. let's say you want to have an intimate encounter with a loved one, then you have to think about, okay, what kind of bed is it? How many menus does it have? Does it have this kind of menu? Okay, is this one where you have to get on the pose balls? Okay, are you on your pose ball? Okay, we have to adjust the pose ball because you're not fitting. I'm telling you, it is hysterical.
It's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
there's always laughter involved in Second Life.
Exactly. You have to be ready to just have a good time and laugh when you get it wrong.
I got to tell you though, I want to give one more time, but shout out to Tara Lynn. I'm gonna tell you what a great friend Tara Lynn is. So we're going back to the SL penis, right? Right. Like you gotta match the color with the color of your avatar.
Oh, that too.
Which is a pain in the.
There are skin companies that actually have teamed up with Site now, so that they can match their skins perfectly.
Well, this was back in the day. Wow. This was back in the day. This was back in the day, right?
Used to have to struggle to color them.
Right. This was back in the day, right? So you had to be like a color expert to try to figure out, is it off? Is it matching? And so thank you, Tara Lynn, for helping me get the color right.
You know what? That was TMI. That's just TMI.
It wasn't on us doing anything crazy. It was just to make the avatar look right. So, but,
one thing that's actually interesting about the genitalia in Second Life, women generally don't get the attachment genitalia nearly to the degree that men do. I don't think. I remember when I was like first started Second Life, and like the first couple years, I got one, and I used it for like maybe a week, and I've never used it since, and I've never even pursued the option of getting another.
And when you say used, do you mean war?
Well, yeah, where you try out with somebody.
Gotta be more specific.
Good clarification,
like
lawyer. Counsel, good question, counsel.
Yep. Because I don't think we're all quite well equipped just with our bodies as they are, right? We don't have this
and
stuff, so we don't get the attachments as often as the guys do. That's for sure.
I'm so glad there's no used parts like vendors in SL, because that's where I can see that. How's that computer working out for you? Well, I took it around the block a couple of times. It's just not for me.
It's got real lemon.
Exactly how it went.
Another thing that can happen is, I'm not going to say who this person is, but I'm going to put one person on blast. That's my friend Chris 62. Right. So, but he's not the person that this happened to. So I would bring in people into SL for Machinima so that, like modders and stuff, they can create stuff. So one of our modder friends we brought into Second Life, and I want him to, to see how to use the prims and the which are like the building blocks that you create stuff with in Second Life. Of course, my friend Chris takes him to all the debauchery, right? So he comes in, he's like, I'm gonna build this and I'm gonna build that and I'm gonna show you, because he's like an expert at mesh and all this stuff. And so, but once Chris took him to the debauchery, he's like in Second Life clubs, he's screwing, he done got him a Second Life dick after 2 days. He's and he's using it all the time and all this stuff, right? So one day, I guess he was just whoring around, right? So we couldn't even find him. He's on some sim getting it in, right? So then one day he comes to me and Chris and he says, "Oh my God, I really fucked up." And I'm like, "Well, what happened?" And he said that he met a girl at a club. They went to a place. They had sex, and now she's saying she's pregnant.
Yep, there it is, folks.
And she wants some SL child support. Real talk.
Okay, luckily you can choose how seriously you take that in this situation. Yeah, I mean, at some point there is, you get to choose, especially if it's somebody that you've just met. You have no idea how seriously they take any of this stuff. There are plenty of people that log on just to play it as a game. And I have met a lot of people who actually do live their life in Second Life, victims of domestic violence and things like that. So, yes, so it's, yes, and disabilities is a big one. So it's important to know who you're dealing with sometimes. And in that situation, I mean,
absolutely.
She sounds like she was just trying to get some money, like
exactly.
over. And
either that or he was trying to get some money.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Can a person get an STD in Second Life?
Only if you buy.
No.
Only if you buy. Or
If
get
you
on
buy, yeah. If you
go to
buy
Marketplace, I
STDs.
bet you any amount of money you can get. Oh
That
no,
is
I'm sorry. There is something that I saw on there. You can actually put herpes sores on your face. Yep.
And on your vagine.
That's disgusting. It's just like really.
You know what? Second Life can be like this really, really, really deep rabbit hole because I have seen some things.
Me too.
In Second Life,
disturbing.
There's some
very disturbing things.
Where you can buy things. There are some. It's like a cesspit
Very
of
dark.
every dark thing, and you know.
Times
to
10.
each their own, but there's some illegalities that take place that's really questionable. But you know, what are you going to do?
You know, the thing about it is that because it's about freedom of choice and being able to pursue your fantasy, there are some very deep, dark fantasies that we as women, you know, feel that okay, we really don't need to see that. But yes, there are rape HUDs where you can role play rape. Right. There are HUDs that you can do a lot of different things, and I'm not going to even go into it. And I think there were at one point there were Sims that purported certain activities that we would in real life consider to be taboo and absolutely you know, you should go to jail for some of the things that they do. But I just, you know, it's a very fine line.
I'm gonna tell y'all a story and hope y'all don't judge me. When I first, after my stare phase on Second Life, I used to go exploring with my siblings on Second Life. And one of my sisters, she goes, oh, because my name at the time, I had a teen account. I was bad as hell. She goes, oh, there's this sim called Rape City. Let's go. Me. Wow. Okay. Let's.
Wow.
We go. We go to Rape. Well, no, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. But because I mean, Second Life, you know, for most people who play, Second Life doesn't really get fun till like nighttime because that's when everybody's off work. Well, most people are. So we go, and I actually didn't know what to expect. I didn't think it would be I don't know why I didn't make connection name to place. I just thought this is SL and y'all like to name things weird. So I went. I kid you not, I got chased because on SL you can run. I was literally chased by 3 naked men with purple, silver, and I think pink penises.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I was running. My sister was on my cracking up. She could not stop laughing. I was on mic yelling, help me. She goes, TP out. Tell him
exactly.
Yes, don't run. Don't run in that situation. Fly at minimum. Well, okay.
Allowed.
So that's not something I would judge you on, but the only positive thing I would say about that is at least that's something happening in Second Life and not in real life.
Right.
There are some people that are going in there to act out pretty sick fantasies and things like that, and they just if they finish what they need to get out in a place where they can't hurt people for real, that's pretty important.
And ladies, if there's a real life town called Rape City, don't go there.
Don't ever go. No, and you know, guys, don't ever go to Rape City.
Right.
No, nobody go there. Like,
unpopular.
That should have been a red flag right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just delete that.
I don't know if it's still a place. I haven't been since that. When I tell you, my sister was on mic howling. She could not control. I was like, he has a
hell, I would have been too.
What did you think was going to happen at Rape City, though?
Well, no,
exactly. I mean,
I was still new to SL. I really didn't think, because I'd been to places with weird names and I didn't think anything of it. So we go because I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't think something was the way it was. So we go, and I knew SL could be R-rated. I didn't know how.
R-rated. It could
R-rated.
be.
Or
I'm glad
Yeah.
you mentioned
Better
that.
add some
Because
X's.
that goes back to that goes back to the fact of how we as women tend to identify and do our due diligence when we meet somebody. Ladies, let's talk about the blessing of the profile. Because when we look at men's profiles, what are the first things we look at? We look at their pics, we look at their partner box, and we look at their groups. Now I'm gonna tell you a situation that I had with somebody. I was at Soul Vibrations one day, which is one of the popular places. It's just a little dance floor, and everybody goes there. A lot of people say it's a meat market, whatever, yada yada. But I was this guy got in my box, and he was like, "I want you." So the first thing I do is I look at his profile, and he's got a profile in there. It was something about raping, so, raping other women. And I called him out on it in local, which means that I spoke to him in public. And I told him, I basically just, told him, yeah, I'm not really feeling you. He was a dom. He had 2 women on leashes and he was dragging them around or what have you. And he was trying to holler at me. And I basically shut him down, and they wound up banning and booting him out of there because he decided he was going to cuss me out on the sim. But the funny thing about it is that I just pushed him to the point where he actually violated himself. And then I smiled and walked away. But the thing about it is that when we look at profiles, we do our best to, your profile is your calling card. It is your resume. It is what you're trying to present as yourself in SL. And that's how we tend to identify where your head is at. What are we looking at? What kind of groups do you have? I mean, I know I do.
It's very telling.
Based on what you guys have told me so far, I'm pretty surprised that they kind of kicked him out. Only because if they allow a place called Rape City, why would him putting something?
Well, because the sim didn't allow
places.
that. The sim was a G-rated sim, and he was doing things that were against TOS on that particular sim. And TOS.
Explain what TOS is.
I was ready to say it. TOS means terms of service.
Oh, I didn't even know what that shit was.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I was like,
The other thing we should probably explain too is that when we say a sim, that's like a piece of land in Second Life, and every piece of land in Second Life follows their own rules. So in her story where she was on that sim, it's like kind of like a PG kind of rating. So if anybody's doing anything,
adult rating.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
No,
so there's certain sims that are designated adult, and then there's other ones that are like general, PG, whatever. So
now, Rasheem, you've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how you have the agents and stuff like that, right? They have their own version of the agents. They're the Lindens, and does somebody want to explain what a Linden is and their god powers and all that kind of stuff?
Well, the Lindens are not just a form of currency in SL. You have these basically, what are we called? I mean, they're called Lindens, but I want to say
the
devs,
board.
like developers and the government.
They're employees of the company that made the game, basically.
Right.
Exactly. And they all have the same last name.
Linden.
Which is Linden.
And they can they have god powers. They have god powers, so like they can force teleport you, right?
They can do anything.
They can do anything. They can be in your sim.
They're like demigods. They are the demigods of SL.
That's interesting. I've never encountered
I never knew that.
Oh yeah.
I've only seen one, and that was because there was a lot of grief going on in this sim that had a church, and like naked people would come because why not? And one of them sat in
too. Because this week actually was the Second Life 14th birthday, and I sang at their birthday. They had a week celebration, so Lindens would show up for that. And last year they showed up. I met one of the Lindens last year, but I had no idea they had those kind of powers.
Oh yeah, they can.
They're employees of Linden Lab, so they have control over the whole game basically.
They can be on your sim and not be on the radar. They can be invisible and they can be checked. They could, you might have been getting it in and they were watching. So
I always wondered about that. I always wondered whether that people, they're watching us.
Hell yeah, they're watching.
It's called Linden Labs for a reason. It's a social experiment.
Right.
That's the whole premise of the game. It's to observe and study.
Oh wow.
Second Life
That
is
does actually sound
essentially
pretty
what
scary.
happened in
It
Lord of
is.
the Flies. That's what happens in Second Life. Everybody talks about you can come to Second Life and be whatever you want to be, and nobody will judge you. It's all a lie. You come, you be, everybody judges you. Everybody talks about you. You just don't care. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
You
true.
work out your stuff. It's therapeutic in a way.
It can be. Well, I know that what I heard is that one of the original premises to create a Second Life was to also give those that are not able to walk and do things. You know, you have people that have autism. You have people that have Asperger's. There are a lot of people that are caregivers. Right. Well, here's the thing about me. I'm a caregiver. I have a child with cerebral palsy, and being online has afforded me a certain sociability that I would not have had. That goes all the way back to when I said that I was way back with AOL and M-Player and Yahoo and Pal Talk and all of that. But having this virtual landscaping allowing me to do different things, because like, you know, I'm the singer now, I'm enjoying it. You know, there are concerts and award shows and all this other stuff. But you know what? Lately, I've been looking at different other things. I'm like, oh, I want to try this. And you can. That's the whole thing about it. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I want to share with you guys something. I have a good friend. I think most of you guys know him. His name is Lapisian. And you guys don't know Lap. And he got me involved in this thing called the SL NFL. And I love football. And the Raiders were available, so I went and got the Raiders, and it was like a virtual league, right? And I, you know, and I owned the Raiders, right?
Oh wow!
And I owned the Raiders and all of this stuff, and it was cool at first, but then it became annoying because like they met like all the time, and they always wanted you at the owners' meetings, and it was like ridiculous. It was like, dude, I don't got time for this. So, I mean, it was cool at first. Like
that's why I just played one sport in SL, and I never tried to own a team. I played sim ball.
But it was cool though. It was cool, right? At the owner at first. Then it was like, dude, they were like, "You're gonna make the meeting, right?" I'm like, "No, I got shit to do." So anyway, so
I don't like the responsibilities. So I try to stay away from everything like that.
So
that's one thing I don't like about Second Life is that if there's something in Second Life that's making me adhere to a certain schedule, I get very resistant. I want to just like take off because
that's not why I'm here.
Yeah, so you just want to have fun and do your own thing, kind of freeform.
So we had the SL NFL draft, right? And it was like a big production, right? It was a huge production. And, you know, honestly, everybody else took it really serious but me. And I'm sitting there like laughing at the shit, right? I'm like, really? And people were giving speeches like they just got drafted by the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And it was like
trolling.
And it was like all a joke until one person got up. He was drafted by the SL NFL Jets. And he gave a speech that dang near put me to tears. It was this guy. And he was talking about how he was so proud to be a part of this, and how he had been a top recruit in college football, and he was in a horrific car accident, and he lost both of his legs. And he was saying, and he was saying how this was allowing him to kind of live out his dreams that he would never realize in real life. Yeah. And there wasn't like it went from like, you know, we're all laughing and stuff, and then when he gave that speech, it was like, damn, this is real. You know, like, you know,
it does remind you why.
Very careful, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are in there because they really need to be. That situation, I knew a woman who couldn't get pregnant in real life, and so she had the virtual baby and everything. And the amount of good that can do for a person who's really struggling in their real life is
it's
immeasurable. It's immeasurable.
It really is.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of wonderful people I've met. Like all of these people that I've met. I didn't meet Isa in Second Life. I don't think I've ever seen you in Second Life.
You have. It's just that I'm apparently not memorable, and my feelings are hurt. You remember when you had to do the Sigma?
Oh, that's right. You were there. You were there for that. My bad. But you know, all these wonderful people I had a chance to meet in Second Life. And,
you see how you played it out?
all these wonderful people I had a chance to meet in Second Life. And a lot of people like Olaf, for example. All you guys know that Olaf, we do a lot of shows and stuff together. He's become a really dear friend. And, like I said, I met him in Second Life. I met Tara Lynn in Second Life. I met, goo gobs of wonderful people in Second Life who I consider actual friends.
That's how we met.
Right. I mean, we met at my show. So, yeah.
And like I said, props out to DJ Honey, who, used to be in Second Life, who's doing really well. I met her in Second Life. And, you can do all the fuckery that you can do in real life in Second Life. You can also be a part of a really cool community of wonderful, talented people. And I think that it can be a terrific platform, even though with all the madness that we talked about, and it's funny, there's a lot of wives' tales in Second Life, things that people believe. Like, I'm talking about they believe it really. Like, there was one, I don't know if you heard this one, that avatars can be killed. Have you ever heard that one? That one.
Well, yeah, I have heard that one.
The only thing that happens when you die is you just get sent home.
Yeah. Well, no, I've actually heard that there's a script out there. There is a script out there that if you get hit with it by a griefer, that it will actually tear apart your avatar, or the ability for you to look the way you normally look. Like your mesh head would be all messed up. You wouldn't be able to recreate it without buying everything. But I don't know if that's true. I did want to say, Kente, though, that there's a lot of good that goes on in SL in terms of charities, because right now there's one that's amazing called Relay for Life that speaks to the American Cancer Society, and I mean it's touched upon across the Second Life globe. Like, sororities, fraternities, companies, they will all put in monies. I mean, I think there's been like $3 million in real life dollars that has been, over the years that have been raised for Relay for Life. So there's a lot of also real life companies that have a virtual presence. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So,
like I said, I've met wonderful people, and I've had really good times in Second Life. So, and I'll be honest with you, when I first got in there, I thought people were a bunch of nuts, and I was
we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Because
accurate.
At first, I was like,
get old mad here.
I remember I kept turning to Tara Lynn. I'm like, I don't know how many times I said, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And
I've seen it all. No, you haven't.
Right.
Oh, you haven't.
Just when you thought, right.
I lost time. I saw my first poofer.
Oh my God. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Mind you, and I saw my very first poofer at a club, and it was these little chameleons, and they were just coming out of this chick who was walking across the dance floor. They were just bouncing everywhere. I'm like, what's that?
It's crazy.
Oh gosh, I tell you,
it's crazy.
Too funny. Well, I know, like I said before, after party at my house. So please give me your SL names in my box so I can add you guys, because we got a party.
My SL names in there, and as soon as I can get back in SL, you're going to be one of the first people I look up.
Right.
You better.
All right. So what I want to do is take the moment to say that we will not be on next week due to the 4th of July holiday. We will be on the following week, and that episode is actually called Sowing Your Wild Oats. So we will be talking about all of that in 2 weeks. So definitely make sure you guys check that out right here on indieradio.org. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. All right, so let's start off, of course, with the ladies. I'm going to start off with you, Danny. How can people get you in social media, and as well as tell us about your store and what can we purchase from there? Anything new?
My store is called Artisana in Second Life. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page for Artisana is facebook.com/artisanastyle, and it's spelled Artizana. I make a sort of like bohemian ethnic sort of style clothing, mostly for women. I have a few things for men, but not a whole lot. But I'm hoping to change that soon. So I also do, like I was saying, tarot reading and oracle cards, and that's at a place called Pinnacle 22 in Second Life. I don't have too much of a social media presence with that right now, but you can find me in World if you search for Pinnacle 22. And yeah, so that's what I have going on. So.
And thank you so much for coming on. And like I said, I always enjoy you coming on, and thank you for sharing everything with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, always. And Isada, how can we get you on social media and all that good stuff?
Well, so I'm going to advertise my book stuff and my Second Life stuff. On Second Life, my name is Nazarene Acosta Static. My store is www.facebook.com/Bomshi. I make ethnic African, modern African clothing and such because I'm an African. But again, that's on pause for a little bit. I have a book blog. It's called theabominableBookGirl.wordpress.com, and it's Abominable Bee Girl on Twitter and at Abominable Book Girl on Instagram.
All right, and thank you so much. And we got to chop it up more. It's been like forever since we had a chance to talk. We used to talk all the time.
Agreed. I know.
Yeah, so I gotta find out what you're up to and all of that good stuff. All right, and now this young lady, Ambrosia, who's like the busiest person in the world. I look up to this young lady. Like, you know how some people back in the day used to have the poster of Michael Jordan over their bed. I have a poster of Ambrosia over my bed. So how can people get you in social media and all that goodness?
Well, right now you can reach me on Facebook. That's going to be www.facebook.com/Ambrosia Kamala Sapphire. I'm trying to actually get myself branded just like, Madonna and Cher and just have it be just Ambrosia. So I'm working on that. I sing on the grid. You can reach me on there. If you reach me on InWorld, it's Ambrosia Kamala, Ambrosia. Last name Kamala, Kamala. So definitely, if you reach out there, if you're looking for someone that you want to sing at a wedding, at an event, at your club, reach out to my managers, Jana Fleming and Soleil Star with 2 R's at Soul Star Entertainment. So yeah.
All right.
Wait, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Were you approached about doing something for Little Black Dress on Second Life?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, that's my mom's organization. Okay, because I'm looking at your name, I'm like, Jazz, and she did. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
That's me. Yeah, that's actually on my schedule. So
okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I have an online booking form. But yeah, we have an online booking form and all of that, Google Docs and my calendar and all that good stuff.
And when we're gonna do a duet, I have some songs we can sing. We can sing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
Ain't nobody trying to hear you.
we got "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." We have "Where Is the Love?"
My Endless Love.
We're gonna do "Where Is the Love?"
If
and then
this world were mine. Oh yeah.
And we
got some duets.
And we're gonna close it out with "Don't You Want Me, Baby."
Well, actually, you know what? I thought we were going to go on tour as the new edition of Peaches and Herb. So, I'm shake your groove thing.
Hilarious.
So it's going to be definitely.
All right. So Fabian, how can people get you on social media? And are you performing anytime soon?
Always.
And your
always.
films?
Well, I am not on Second Life very much anymore. My real life has kind of taken over quite a bit. So my band, everything is searchable. I guess you could. I'm on Facebook as Fabian Rush, and my band is Synthetic Nightmare. And many of my movies are on YouTube, and those that aren't on right now will be soon enough. I'm currently shooting 2 feature-length films. One is a actually set in Second Life, is a rock opera, kind of a science fiction comedy rock opera called Fatagan Rock Opera of Doom.
Oh, wow.
And that has its own Facebook page, and that's a weird word. It is a word from a early American writer named H.P. Lovecraft, who came up with monsters like Cthulhu and things like that. So it's a science fiction comedy, and so that's coming out in a few months, and I'll put the link in our little conversation here. But even if I don't even want to bother spelling it out for you guys. So I'd say if you just wanted to search Fabian Rush, you'd find everything that I'm involved in. Yeah, I think pretty much everything just on Facebook, YouTube, and Second Life a little bit. And then the other movie I'm doing is one that I'm not doing under my name, so you'll have to search. The other movie is a bit more questionable. It involves racism. It was inspired by some real life events, but then taken way further. And that movie is called White Meat, and that is a movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty it's kind of a torture film.
Is it
in
called
the
the White
same-
Meat Show?
No,
I know
It's,
that thing. I know that
I
thing
haven't-
you're
Right.
talking about.
I haven't done any promoting for it yet because we're still in production. Actually, it's kind of like a Hostel or a Saw movie, like those. It's like a torture horror film,
Oh,
and
geez.
it was so gross that I kind of, stopped working on it for a bit. I'm not the director. I'm just one of the actors, and I wrote it and collaborating with other people on it. And it's so twisted and so wrong that I kind of backed off of working on it for a bit. And Kinte, you're aware of this project.
Yes, I am.
And it was so wrong that I didn't want to do it. And then Donald Trump came into office, and then suddenly the movie seems very relevant again. So we started working on it. Big with all the stuff going on in the news, all that stuff. We realized, well, now is actually the time to release a movie like this. So we're back on that production. After the rock opera's out in August, we're going to be getting right back on White Meat and finishing it probably early to mid next year.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go back to you in a minute because I remember we teased about the story. So
Right.
But before we do that,
I still want to hear that story.
X, how can people get you on social media, and what can we be expecting from you coming up soon?
Well, it's actually rather funny that you asked me that because like I said, I just recently got a hold of a computer. A friend of mine just let me borrow his computer for a while, and it's got like a terabyte of energy, or should I say memory left in it. So I'll be downloading Second Life and joining you guys here the next week or so. And I will be reviving my film company known as Shadow Wind Syndicate Pictures. You can find that on Facebook because it does have its own page, Shadow Wind Syndicate Pictures. I'm also working. I know Kinte is going to be so excited when I tell him this part. I am working on not one, but 4 new singles, and I will be releasing one hopefully in the next couple of weeks called If You Want Me. And actually what I'll do, Kinte, is I'll send you the semi-final production of that just so you can get to listen to it.
Thank you.
Produced by a friend of mine that met from New York. You guys know I used to be in Ohio. I moved from Ohio to Kansas City, so I'm now in Kansas City. And I met a guy from Brooklyn, believe it or not. His name is Dan Davis. He's my producer. We co-produced together, actually, and I am the singer and background singer and arranger for these projects, as well as for another rap group coming out of KC called The Greater Purpose. And if you want to reach me personally on Facebook, I will give you my real name, as it is pretty famous thanks to Johnny Depp and Disney. Look up Ray A. Sparrow on Facebook, and that is how you will find me myself personally.
People probably think that's your stage name, huh?
A lot of people think it's a stage name. I'm like, nope, I've had it longer than Johnny Depp had, and I think Disney owes me money.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to hearing your new music. So, and of course, you can get us at indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. And like I said, we won't be back next week, but we'll be back the following week for our Sowing the Wild Oats episode. And of course, you can catch us at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, we've teased it enough, and the story of Fabian Rush and the white supremacists.
Wow, you made that sound very elegant. Like tonight on our show, we'll be talking with Fabian Rush and his white supremacist experience. Well, this is back in 2007 now, and I guess it still feels really new for me. But I'm in a band, and it is kind of a heavy rock. It's pretty much a metal band, and I'm living here in Richmond, Virginia, and so I'm in the South, and it's not uncommon for some hillbillies, or no, I shouldn't say hillbillies, white supremacists coming into the area. And so one of the nights that my band was playing, that Synthetic Nightmare, we were setting up and just kind of all getting ready to get started. And we knew that white supremacists had entered the bar because they make themselves known. They're loud, big, white, rough-looking guys. And we had at the time we had these two backup dancers that would kind of just, we'd be doing our show, and they would do the fire breathing and twirling fire wands. We did a lot of fire in our shows back then, which in hindsight, I'm kind of sad that they didn't have fire ready to blow on these guys. But I was on the stage, and people hadn't started filling the concert area quite yet. These guys came in, two of them, and they saw me up there, and I just happened to look at them. They said, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "Oh crap! So here's this about to happen." And so they started rushing the stage. And what's interesting is that the part I remember the best is how your perception slows down when you know you're about to be in a fight. I guess I should say speeds up. Like it's like the whole world slowed down, and I had time to make a decision about how I was going to deal with these guys. So I guess since I had the high ground, being on a stage that was about maybe 4 feet tall, the best thing to do, I thought, would be to kick them. One of the guys jumped on the stage, and he had reached back so he could punch me out, and I kicked him in the face, and he flew through the air backwards and landed on his back, and I guess his friend stopped to help him. And luckily, I knew all the bouncers in this club, so they ran up and they dealt with the situation. And luckily, my fans were in the audience, so all these guys are surrounded by other white people that are armed and have their knives ready to go and all this stuff. So welcome to Virginia, everybody. But yeah, so that was an adrenaline rush. I've been around racism my whole life, but I'd never been attacked as an adult, I guess. Like when I was in school, I was used to, kids saying stuff because they're kids and they just kind of say what's on their mind. But this was my first time being attacked by full adult big guys. So I got lucky that night that I was surrounded by so many friends. And so I guess that's kind of the segue, what kind of inspired the movie, the White Meat movie that I wrote and then got into a little later. Was that story as much fun as you were hoping it would be?
But then it was something that you were able to cross off your bucket list. You got a chance to kick.
I got to kick a white supremacist in the face. So yeah, that was. I didn't know that was on my bucket list until I did it. It should be on every Black person's bucket list to kick a white supremacist in the face. And with guys like Richard Spencer around, right. It's a lot of people are getting to know the joy that I have. it's like cotton candy.
I'm like, hey man, I could just retire now because I've done it all.
It's you know, at the time,
Cross that off the bucket list.
It's very stressful at the time, but later I was like, wait a second, I just did that. They didn't lay a hand on me, and here I now have all my white friends on my, you know, of course they're on my side because they're my friends, but I mean, I like to see that the world has changed in a way that it has changed in a way that I can go out to these places doing what I do in a metal band as a black guy and not ever have to really be worried or afraid.
That's great, man. That's an awesome. I love that story, and I think that you know, I think every guy should get that opportunity at least once in life. So,
so that's a bucket list thing right there, buddy.
They're an easy bad guy to have because you don't ever have to really feel remorse for what you do to them.
Right. Right. So yeah, that's awesome. Once again, I want to thank everybody listening, and you guys have a great week. God bless, and we'll see you next time right here.
Thank you so much for having us, Kente.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
show.
man.
Thank you for having us.
Uh-oh.